There's no need to complicate things. Let's stick to the basics. We both know what we want. Let's just keep.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Black Filmmakers Matter podcast. And we're here today with filmmaker Josetta Shropshire. Shropshire?
Shropshire.
Shropshire.
Yes.
And just to begin, I'm really interested. Can you tell me a little about your name, your last name?
Certainly, I'll share a little bit about Shropshire with you. Shropshire is a name from London, England. It is excuse me, it's not London, but England. There's a place called Shropshire, England. And I've actually been there. My mother took me there when I was 14 so that we could learn more about our history. But as you are aware, a lot of times during slavery, the slaves took on the names of the, you want to call them the masters or the people that own the plantation.
Right.
So we were on the plantation that was owned by a man named Wesley Shropshire, and that's how our name came about. And we have a very, very rich history. The Shropshires are here in Georgia and also on the East Coast.
That's not a name that can be easily missed.
It's a mouthful, that's for sure. I have fun times, fun experiences where my young cousins are learning how to spell Shropshire when they're 4 and 5, and it's
That's another podcast in itself, huh?
kind
Can you tell me about what's your favorite genre or what is your professional genre? What do you do?
we produce documentaries primarily. My favorite genre, truth-filled films. There's sometimes I like fiction, but I believe that the truth is stronger and more powerful than fiction. So 90% of what we produce are truth-filled films.
Okay. And documentaries. Like you could put your truth into movies and music and what was the pivotal moment when you said documentaries?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a really interesting question.
What caught that interest?
Yeah, what I had a woman, a mentor, many, many years ago, sit down and talk with me. And she pointed out things to me about the television industry, things that I knew because I came out of the television industry. But it's interesting when you talk with an older person who has lived longer and sees life differently. And at that time, she was saying there's so much on TV that's dark and it's no good. And she says, you have to commit to be a producer of good TV, be a producer of great television content. And I said, I like that. That's what I want to do. And it rang true with my soul. And from that point forward, I have been consciously working to produce things that are positive and uplifting. And that's another reason for the name of my company, Positive Promotions Ltd.
I love the name. I love that.
Thank you.
Can you tell me about a current project you're working on?
Well, let me start with the most the most current film that's out there now. We have two documentaries that are in worldwide distribution. The most recent one, called Mother of Kings, is the story of Alberta Christine Williams King, who is the mother of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We've been blessed to receive awards from all over the world concerning that film. It's amazing because many people don't know the story of Dr. King's mother. Unfortunately, she was assassinated in church on Sunday morning. So there's a lot there. The family has had tremendous trauma and drama. So I knew that her story was worth telling. And that is our most recent production that is in distribution right now.
Okay. And who brought this idea, this movie, this concept to your attention? Were you studying about her or?
This is something that I really stumbled on. I was producing another film now. Mother of Kings is our most recent production, but before that, in 2018, we released another film called Unsolved History, Life of a King. Unsolved History, Life of a King. And it's the story of Reverend A.D. Williams King, who is the younger brother of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, many years ago, this was after Yolanda passed. Some family members came to me. I operated a production studio in Atlanta. A family member came to me and said, "There's more to the story, and we want more of our story told." So I started interviewing family members one at a time, and I went wherever the story led me. Uh, in the process of learning about Reverend A.D. King, I began to discover through my interviews that I also had the story of Miss Alberta King. And this was put on my heart to tell her story because it had never been told. And another thing happened for me. I'm a mother, and I think it's extremely important that mothers are highlighted. A lot of times we don't get credit for the work that we do behind the scenes, everything that we go through to raise our sons and daughters. And for a woman to raise a family and a son that helped change the world, her story certainly is worth telling.
Yes, ma'am. And I have this is more of a personal question. Like spiritually, how did this change you? Like, what did this do for you personally? This experience.
The whole experience has strengthened me. It has made me more committed to telling the truth. Um, I just don't think that we give ourselves enough credit. I think that we have to understand that we come from greatness, that Black women are great, and that we have to support one another, and we've got to keep the lineage alive. Another thing that happened to me that was very interesting, it was kind of shocking for me. A few years ago, I was attending Emory University getting my master's in theology. So that's very spiritual. And I was in classes with women, young women that were half my age or more. I won't tell you my age, but they were a lot younger than I was. And what I found out, unfortunately, is that they did not have respect for the roles that a lot of women played during the civil rights movement. They said that the women should have been more up front and the women should be doing this and doing that. But
Mm.
I think it's important to understand that the women played the roles that they had to play. They stayed home and they raised the children, which was critical back then. They made
Right,
sure that everything was taken care on the home fire so that men could go forward and lead the march. So
right,
even though a lot of people may not respect that role, it's extremely important. And I felt the need to bring that forward.
right. Somebody had to hold it down, you know.
Somebody had to hold it. Somebody, yes. And it was the women in most instances, and they deserve credit for what they did because it was not easy.
And with you, you're just feeding me knowledge and I'm coming up with new questions. Um,
Okay.
what do you think we need to do as a household, as a people, to teach our children to don't take advantage of what you saw us do in the past? Show that respect. Understand what your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother went through. What do we teach them today to help them acknowledge what we did?
First of all, I think younger people are going to have to listen to older people. A lot of younger folks don't want to hear the story. I remember sitting at my grandmother's knee and listening to what she had to say. I also remember when I was 19 and 20 and just starting to go out to the clubs and all this kind of stuff. When I got home in the evenings or at night, early morning, whatever you want to call it, I would sit down and talk to my grandmother and she would tell me about what she did when she was 19 and 20. And it's extremely important that we talk with our elders and get that information and keep that truth going. Um, I think that we need to spend time and have an open ear and an open heart.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we
I don't know if you remember back in the day. I remember growing up in New York City, we had like teen summits.
mm,
They worked, and it was elders and teens. Just you remember sitting around discussing the topics. We don't do that anymore. So,
so
I think we need more of that.
I agree. That's what we've got to do. We've got to get back to talking, and
Mhm.
everything can't be done on the phone. We can't just post everything. There's got to be that one-to-one interaction.
Mhm.
Show that you love someone, give them a hug, take a minute and listen to what they've got to say. Listen to what the young people have to say, but the young people really need to listen to what the older ones say. And another thing, since we're having this discussion about generational differences,
Mhm.
one thing that is critical is that we've got to respect one another's story, one another's
Yes. Yes.
experience. You may not really appreciate it, but as we get older, we can appreciate it. When we step away, say, yeah, that lady did a lot, or that man did a lot to keep his family together. And
Right.
their struggles were tremendous, but they overcame them. And they overcame them with dignity most of the time.
Right. Okay, we have a second podcast, lady. We got so so much to teach and share. Okay,
Okay.
you told us about your current project. What is your dream project? What's a project if you had the money, the space, opportunity, you would do it?
That would be the project that is in pre-production for us right now. That project is called The Ancestors Speak. I had the amazing opportunity to travel to Egypt and spent time there. I actually lived in Egypt for a while, and there's so much rich history, and it's our history, rich
Yeah.
history that needs to be brought forward. There are things in Egypt, things that have been stored up in Mother Africa for us that can heal us. But if we don't know what's there, then how can we access it? And I believe that my company has been tasked to go back to Africa and to go back to Egypt and get some of those ancient stories and ancient healing modalities and bring them forward.
Oh my God, I love this woman. Guys, I love her.
Thank you. Much love to you. Yes.
What do you think? What's some, I'm not going to say good, some very important advice you can give to, and I'm not going to say a young filmmaker because there's filmmakers our age just, trying to start out. What advice would you give a starting filmmaker?
I would say understand that the road may not be easy. Be diligent and be committed to it. It may take a while to get your film to the marketplace, but don't give up, especially if you believe in what you're doing. Um, these films that I'm talking about, Mother Kings took about 12 years to get to market. So understand that this is not an overnight sensation kind of thing. And if you're in it just to make quick money and to be famous, you may be disappointed. There has to be a commitment to excellence, a commitment to craft, and stability. Hang in there. You're
That's
gonna yeah, moments where you don't have money or you don't know how you're going to get anything done, but that's the time when you open yourself up to prayer, you get information, and you just keep on pressing.
okay. So I like to ask my filmmakers, um, your hardest moment during a project because there are hard moments when you have a project. People don't show up, equipment breaks, you're going nuts. What's something, a hardship you've had that you can advise on during a shoot?
Well, shoots, oh my goodness, anything in a shoot. So um, I think it's important to understand production first of all. You're working with a team. It's not just one individual. And it's good to have a good relationship with your videographers, with if you're working with writers, if you're working with editors. So know that this is a team experience and know as much about production before you go into this as possible. It's not just sitting down and talking to somebody. The lighting, the audio, everything plays a part. Know that all of those things are extremely important. You asked me about one difficult moment. In terms of production, I've been in production for a very long time, so I kind of have a heads up on what I need to do in terms of technical things. But one of the most difficult uh, moments for me was I had an interview to do with someone who is very important. And I think all of the people I interview are important. And unfortunately, my father had passed 2 days before the interview, but I had to pull myself together and get it together and do this interview. So, what I'm saying is, again, focus and perseverance. How badly do you want this thing to work? Don't fall apart. We can fall apart afterwards, but make sure that we're professional and do the best quality job we can.
Now, guys, I might tear up a little because this is hitting home. I was having a really hard time yesterday. Excuse me. I was having a really hard time yesterday, and um, a friend passed away, and I called Josetta because I didn't know if I was going to cancel. I didn't know what to do, and we had an interview. And I called her, and she just she talked me down. She was there, and we just met each other, and she talked me down. She was my sister. She was my friend. She didn't question me. She was just there. And I'm just noting this because this is what we need for each other. This
We
is what
have
we need for each other.
to love one another and show
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Be afraid to show
Yeah.
love. That's the way we're going to make the world better.
And because she did this, because my sister did this, I am here today. If I did not talk to this woman, I know I would be home crying.
Oh
I
my,
know. So
well,
this is what she's doing for, the creator sent her. Because we needed to hear her story.
wow. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you, really. You have a wonderful platform to expose filmmakers. And that's another area that we are underserved. We don't get our stories out there nearly as easily and as often as other filmmakers. So I appreciate you and all that you're doing to help us tell our stories.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because what do you think we need more of to create more diverse stories?
Well, there's so many things that we need. One thing that is critical that we need is distribution. Distribution is key. You can have the best story in the world, but if there's no way to get it out there, nobody sees it. So it's important that we have a platform where we can share and say, this is something that's going on in the industry. These are people that are doing things that are noteworthy. So distribution, chopping it up like we're doing here, all of that's really, really important. Networking.
Networking, get off those phones, stop texting, and talk to each other. Talk to
Exactly.
people. You would go bonkers if you knew how I love people. Like I grew up quiet, wallflower, shy, and
Yeah.
yeah, and now I love talking to people.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I can start a conversation with a walking past a total stranger.
That's a gift. Yeah. Yes.
Someone was in Walmart earlier and they were looking at a television and he was really into it. And I'm standing there watching this individual really into his purchase. And I'm like, wow, that's a big decision, huh? I said, that's a great looking TV. And he's like, yeah, man, I don't know what to do. So you can start a whole, and it's a white person. So how many black people would go up to a white person and just start, you know, just talking? Oh boy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that we got this opportunity. We've been working on this for a few days, haven't we?
Yeah. Yes, miss. Um, I would like to do a part two with you. If
Okay.
you don't mind, I would like to reach out and talk some more about the children and the
Okay.
teens and us as people. That would be great. And I would love to hear more about your travels.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes.
I'm like dying to travel, folks. I'm dying to travel. Grew up in Brooklyn, just been in the States, and I want to go far and learn. And
I just want to share one thing with you and the rest of the viewers. I've been fortunate, I've been blessed, and I've traveled to Africa many times. I want to tell you there are golden, there's everything stored up in Africa for us. There's wealth, there's health, there's history, there's love, there's family. And when you go to Africa, they're so welcoming. I know people say that's not true. They love us. Wherever I go, they ask me, they say, why don't Black Americans come home? They ask me that all the time. Why
really,
all over? Why don't they come home? And they tell me all the time, welcome, welcome home, all over Africa. They want
wow,
they want us to connect. And the other thing is we are outside of Africa, so we're missing something by not being in Africa. But when you go to Africa, they recognize that there's a hole in Africa from where we were taken out. That's the amazing thing. They miss us and we are missing them. So there has to be a connection. And I think that Positive Promotions LTD will do.
that goosebumps. You gave me goosebumps. I felt it.
Good. The answer
Goosebumps.
information to go forward. They want us to reconnect because we are family.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow, guys, I'm 52 and she just blew me away.
We can
Oh,
all,
yes.
any age we can learn.
That's right. Wow, thank you, sis. We're gonna wrap this up. It's been beautiful, it's been wonderful, and it's been worth the wait. It's really worth the wait. And I want to thank you again in front of my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for helping me out yesterday. I was having a hard time.
My pleasure, sis. My pleasure. Yes, yes. And I hope if I'm having a hard time, somebody will reach out and help me.
That's right. That's right. And I love you and thank you so much. And join us again, please, Josetta.
Much love to you. I appreciate you. And I look forward to joining you again. All the best.